Okay folks, welcome back to part 3 of the Sportster tank paint series. So I hope you enjoyed part 1 and part 2 previously, where we de-nibbed the tank down, the original paint, and then in part 2 we laid over the base coat black. But as you can see right in front of you there on the camera, we have got the base coat silver now over the black, and there's a reason why we've done that, and we'll explain that to you in a minute. But before we get into the rest of the vlog, let's hear that intro. Okay, so on the last episode we had the base coat black over the tank. Now as you can see, we've just explained to you, we have now got the base coat silver. Now if we go to the top of the tank, you'll see how that changes tone, so it's more of a gunmetal grey. And all we've done with that, we've mixed a tiny bit of black paint, of black base coat in with the silver. So we've blown this over silver first, mixed a little bit of black in, and then toned down the top of the tank. Okay, the reason why we do that, on here, the decals that are going on here are going to be in a candy red. Okay, and the decal that's going on here wants to be a darker silver. And that's the only reason why we've done that. But what we're trying to do is keep it simple and keep the layers all flowing into one without having to mask up. So what we're going to do now is lay on some candy over the side here, where the decal, the bar and shield, is going to go, and lay over a little bit of candy paint here where the Harley-Davidson logo is going to go. Okay, and on the top, that's where the skull is going to go, so we're going to leave that for now. Now after we've done that, then the whole thing then just wants a little bit of base clear over, not base clear, just wants a bit of clear coat over the top, and then let that settle then, so over a day or two, so when the paint hardens, we're ready then to take the decals off and then lay over the final colour, and that will give us the finished product. Okay, so without further ado, let's go to the paints. Now we need, let's have a look, Candy Ruby Red. Okay, and that's the Inspire range. I keep everything in there for the Inspire range for the airbrushes. Always handy to keep your paints in one cabinet, and they're easy to find when you need them. Okay, so back over to the tank. So we're going to mix that paint up now in the airbrush and then go ahead and lay this on. So let's get cracking. Okay, so with the candy paint, you just need to leave and do a light coat and then leave it a few minutes then to dry off. Now we're about 65 degrees in this garage, so it won't take long to do that. And obviously the more coats you put on, the darker that candy is going to be. Now in certain lights, this is going to merge into the black, and then when the sun hits it, then it'll really pop back out, and that's the effect we're going to try and do. Okay, so just leave that a minute now, and then we'll just blend over again until we get the right shade we need. And then on the other side, remember how many coats you put on, so we get the same colour contrast on the other side of the tank. Okay, so before the final coat now, we're just going to lay some of this Sparkle Pearl Red. So we just need 1 cupful of that, and then we'll just blow this over now. It's a wide fan on the airbrush. can really just see that. You can't probably pick that out on camera, but that's just really picking out now in the candy. So we're going to lay one more candy over the top of that. And then that side is finished and ready for the clear. Beautiful. Okay, so that's it. This is the 3 stages to the painting process for laying the decals on the tank. So again, this is only a simple design for this customer. We're only colouring the decals and we're having the skull on the top of the tank. But this is the process to enable you to do it. There's no point in just trying to do a little bit here and a little bit here just for the decals. It just won't work that way and you end up with ridges in your paint. So if you're putting the decals on the side of the tank, you need to blow the whole side in to make that work. That way you've got less cutting to do with the sandpaper or your wet and dry when it comes to it. Now, of course, you know, I'll probably use between no less than 800, so 800 to 1,000 to flat off this before it goes to clear coat. But in the process of it, and you can see the reason why I use this colour. Let's just go back into the colours. So we step back over here. Now we've laid a clear over this, which is why we've got a bit of a shine on there now. So we've got a clear coat over the top, and the decal's going to sit around here, which is the Willie G skull, similar to on my tank. I think that's becoming an ALCHEMOTO trademark for all you out there. And then we move on to the sides, which is the ruby candy. Okay, now the beauty about the candy paint is it disguises things in the background. So what it'll do is when the black's over that, it'll merge into it. And that's what I mean by that. So it'll pick out the colours underneath it, and it'll pick out the sparkle red that we've put in there under the bright sunlight. So if you look at it from this angle, it's almost appearing black, okay? And as you move around and it hits the light, and you can see how that is absolutely ruby slipper red. It's a beautiful colour. So that's what it'll be like when the sun hits it. Okay, so when the sun's on that from the side, that's really going to pop with those decals. And then as you move away from the sun, you can see how it just sort of turns almost like a black, especially on that angle there. And that's the look we're going for. It's almost stealth-like. So the whole thing is going to look almost black, the whole thing, until you come around the side. Let's have a look. And then the sun's going to hit it. You can see that there, the sun. We've got the light on this side of the garage. And there it is again, a beautiful, beautiful ruby slipper red. Okay, and then you move away from it again. And it almost disappears, or it will disappear into the main colour of the tank away from the sunlight, okay? And as you move to the top, remember that we're going to have the Willie G transfer here, and then that will be overlaid in the black base coat over the top. So we're toning that down so it only sort of comes to life when the sun hits it on the top and on the side. Now, of course, the Willie G skull is going to be more profound than the decals on the side, but when the clear coat's on that, believe me, that is going to look absolutely fantastic. Okay, so for this episode, that's drawing to a close. So as I've just said, we'll draw this one to a close. So that's the 3 stages up to now to do your tank. So remember, I use a base coat instead of a primer because the original clear coat on the original tank was flat down enough just to take a base. If you're not happy that way, you can prime it, use a white or a grey primer or a black primer, it doesn't matter. Then you base coat over the top. Base coat is just basically something that you can flat down. You can do that with primer anyway, and you don't need to overlay it again, you know, with a second coat. Okay, so if you're not using a base coat, use a primer, flat that down. Now I've used a silver on that purely to make the candy paint pop the decals through. Remember, the darker the base colour, the darker that candy paint's going to be, and again with the more layers of that candy that you overlay. So I basically put 4 layers of candy paint over that bright silver metallic, and that's what's given us that ruby slipper look. We've also put a little bit of sparkle red pearl in there as well. So again, that'll pop when the sun hits it. Okay, so that's, you can do whatever you want. You can use a gold underneath, a copper underneath, a green underneath, whichever you want. It's experiment with the colours. I've experimented to find this is the best that's going to work for me and the customer with this tank and this design. With it being simple, we wanted something that's still going to make it pop in the sun and look stealth-like and almost black-like, which is the theme of his bike. We don't want to go too mad. Remember, there's other tanks we're going to do more specialist work on, but for this one, that's the stages you want to go to. Okay, so that's all it is lay your colour on each side that you want your decals to be, let that paint go off, clear coat that, put your decals on. The next episode will be that, decals off, and then the black overlay over the top. So I look forward to seeing you guys for episode 4. I hope you've enjoyed episode 3. We'll keep these short and sweet, and then it's something to keep in your logbook if you want to ever refer back to them. And remember, there's a ride out as well happening soon on the channel, which we did today in the snow. Sportster's in the snow. So keep watching the channel. This is the first time you're watching ALCHEMOTO. Please subscribe, please like the video. It helps to go massive amounts towards the algorithms and makes my channel go superior, and that's what we want. So ALCHEMOTO for this episode is signing out, and I'll see you next time, guys.